Andrew, why is it that Republicans, I want you to psychoanalyze this, and then Blake, I want your thoughts. Why was this so hard? Why did we as an outside group and a radio show, Andrew, have to make multiple visits to Nebraska, have to spend some time, money, and thank you all of you that donate to Turning Point. You guys make projects like this possible, and I don't regret any of this. Do you, Blake? I don't regret getting
of course not.
Because, I mean, we had a chance to get an electoral vote in a deep red state, and we got mighty close.
Would have been huge bragging rights if we'd pulled it off.
But it is. We didn't do it because of that. But Andrew, what's going on here? Why was this so hard? Why would Republicans in Nebraska feel so indifferent to Kamala Harris becoming president? What's going on here?
Well, I think you summed it up when you said, with that one anecdote where he said, "Oh, it's controversial. We don't want the controversy." But there's something about I think a couple of things. I think the press and the media has so beat up your run-of-the-mill average Republican. They've called them racist. They've called them xenophobic. They've called them bigoted. They've called them hateful for so long that they don't want to be seen as guilty of any of those things. So they stay out of anything, the line of fire, whenever the fight gets tough. You call them sunshine patriots, right? All they want to talk about is tax codes and all the stuff that wouldn't get them embroiled into any sort of controversy because they have been trained like a beat dog to avoid that stuff. And what we have done, I think, at Turning Point that is so instrumental, and what you, Charlie, deserve a ton of credit for, actually, and there's other voices like Tucker and some of these other voices that have gone into the firing line as opposed to running away from it, is we are trying to reform the conservative movement to not be afraid of the fight. And we've tried to create an army of voices that will support and defend people that are doing the right thing. But I think when you go out into the middle of the country and you go to some of these long-held conservative areas, these red pockets of the country, they are just not used to it. Their muscles have atrophied, and they just want to go to the football games. They want to be in polite society. They don't want to be castigated or spoken down to or spoken negatively of. Their reputation, their local prestige is what they do this for, and they don't want to put that in jeopardy. So they're just not ready for a real fight, sadly, too many of them.
So I brought Blake with me, and we worked the Nebraska football game, which, by the way, our plan was actually really smart, which is the Nebraska football game's like the Met Gala.
Yeah.
Of
Everyone's
Nebraska.
there.
Yeah, exactly. So if you want to lobby for something, you go to the Nebraska football game.
Exactly.
And
it makes you wonder, like, how many things in Nebraska's history or, state history generally are decided
100%.
at these, backroom negotiations at football games.
And so our hypothesis was brilliant. I have to give credit because I was like, how do I get a captive audience with these senators so I could, make my case? And I was like, they're hosting a football game. So we flew in and met with the governor. The governor was in support, but the governor was very damaged because of this property tax session.
Yeah.
The governor's not the villain of the story by any means. The governor wanted to do the right thing. I think the governor could have done more and prioritized it.
I think what we both agree on is a lot of people, and like the governor, he only wanted to call the special session if it would be a win and if he had all the votes there.
And that's where I disagreed with
our
him.
sense was if you call it, then you're making it very clear who the holdouts are. The pressure is on them. And that is likely to get you over the hump. But you have to take the risk that it might not work.
Right. And the strategy we were pitching is call the session, turn this into a national issue, and make them in front of millions of people vote yes or no. Don't do this behind the scenes. We were unsuccessful with that pitch. So we were working the football game there. Blake, can you psychoanalyze the Nebraska political? I mean, you're from South Dakota, so you kind of get this, right?
A little bit. I think a key thing with Nebraska, first of all, is it's not a state, I guess, where they're super used to getting a lot done. They have a strong filibuster. You need basically 33 votes to do anything, and they can filibuster pretty much like they can at the federal level. Now, imagine if you could filibuster in the U.S. Senate up to 66 votes, and that's kind of what they have going on in Nebraska. And so I think they're not very used to doing aggressive stuff to ram things through. They've had this filibuster a very long time. Another thing is in states like Nebraska, where the Republican Party has been dominant a very long time, I think it actually means you get a different sort of person because people who just sort of want to go into politics because they like being in power, they like having the status of it, they end up being Republicans as opposed to at the national level where they're Democrats. So you kind of get certain types of people who maybe aren't that dispositionally conservative about it. There's a lot of factors that go into it. And I think a lot of them just didn't get it either. They didn't get the stakes.
And so what we're going to show, let's get the map ready. Because we're not done on this. This full hour, we're dedicating towards a reflection on our effort to try to get Nebraska to fix its system. They decided not to, and Kamala might win because of it.